First of all, I would like to thank the amazing host, Foma Bay. This has been a great experience so far, and I'm excited to have the Go Blue from the Kenya coast coming to the lake. So my name is Florian Lux. I'm the project manager of the joint project of UNEP and UN Habitat called Go Blue, Connecting People, Cities and the Ocean. And it's greatly funded by the European Union. This project has been around for 4 years plus. We will wrap it up in September. So I've been to quite a few panel sessions on this project. We've been talking about plans and things we want to do, and then sometimes things that we have done, but now we are close to the end. So I think we can now actually report more on everything that we've been able to do. And it's been my great honor and pleasure to be here today with an illustrious panel. We have a good mix of people. We're greatly honored to have the governor of Busia with us, the chair of the Blue Economy Committee, who is very relevant to this space. And we've met before in Mombasa, and I've been able to brief along with the county governor of Lamu, who's the former chair of the same panel. So we would like to thank the Council of Governors also for the great support. And I'd like to invite the speakers onto the panel, please, to sit already on the panel. And next, I would like to introduce the EU Ambassador, Her Excellency Henriette Geiger. It's a great pleasure to have you here today. And I think we've been in many events together, and it's amazing to see your support for this project. And it's also a pleasure to be increasingly able to show you what we've been able to do since you're the donor for this project. So this is really, for me personally, it's an honor and a pleasure. And also to come here to the lake and to show what we've been able to do in the coast, because we've often talked about the specificities of the coast, but there are things that are very similar. So some of the things are similar, some are different, but certainly we can learn some lessons here. Just in terms of the order of speakers, I thought that as the host, the Council of Governors will open and the EU Ambassador will speak next. So if that's okay, I will just open the discussion. I will ask for fairly short remarks. If there are any questions from the floor, you can direct them to my colleagues, but I think we have very limited time and we also don't want to keep you too long. So from my end, that's it. I will just now be giving the floor to the respective speakers. And I just asked the governor of Busia to open for us, to host us, and then the donor to come in with her speech. Thank you very much. Great honor and pleasure.
Thank you too. Makofi. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. I'm also honored to be here today. As you have heard, I'm the governor of Busia. Other than that, I also wear another hat as the chairman of the Blue Economy in the Council of Governors. So I want to take that opportunity to welcome you for this session. As you have heard, the Go Blue program has been going on in Mombasa, and I think we had opportunity to have some presentations in Mombasa. And I think last time when we were doing the spatial plans, I think that was in Nairobi. Yeah, we also met in Nairobi over this project. But as you are aware, of course, coast is part of Kenya, but we are also aware on this concept of blue economy is still a very, would I say, very young area for us. We are yet to fully comprehend the opportunities that come with the blue economy and even come up with policies and programs that can properly utilize this space, both for food, of course in a sustainable manner in terms of environmental sustainability. We're also looking at it as opportunity to create employment for our young people. We're also looking at it as opportunity to open up markets for this region. And just like it has done in coastal, I believe we are going to get some presentation on how it has done in the coastal areas in the last 4 years that the program has been there. And to see how in the Lake region, economic bloc, and my chair is here, Professor Nyang'nyo, you know that in this region we have got almost 15 million people that you are in charge of. You're a mini president here. And we always talk about blue economy. When we talk about Lake region economic bloc, then definitely we are all talking about the Lake Basin, the Lake Victoria, and all the rivers, all the waters that flow in. So it's a whole ecosystem that we are looking at. And with a population of 15 million people, if we don't exploit it in a sustainable manner, in a planned manner, it becomes a challenge. So I'm really looking forward that we are going to partner more. Of course, on behalf of Kenya, I thank you for piloting this project in the coastal counties. And I'm glad, Prof, this is one of the projects that they are working directly with the counties. It has no, sometimes we have been having issues when we have got devolved functions being sometimes administered at the national level. Then in terms of community participation, domesticating becomes a challenge. But in this project, I've seen that there's that partnership with the counties, and I think this is a good thing. So all I will be saying is that if something has worked, we'll be looking forward, and I think the European Union has been magnanimous in supporting this program. We hope that the best lessons we have learned from the coastal counties can be replicated here. And we can be looking on how best we can partner so that we can be able to address some of the challenges that we have been facing here. We started especially on areas of aquaculture. I think we started here in 2007 when we had an economic stimulus just after the post-election violence. And we were trying to see how best to engage the youths. But if you look at it, we have not been very successful. A little bit of success here and there, but if you look at production, the markets, the organization, it hasn't been there. In fact, it is only recently that, is it Kabonyo? Lake Kabonyo, the Kabonyo station, Kanyakwa, the one at Kabonyo. Yes. It is only now that I saw the other day, it is beginning to get some life. But earlier we had thought that we were going to make it a regional center to serve the whole of the lake region, because blue economy is a very scientific method of production of fish. But you find that we have been having challenges with fingerlings. We have been having challenges with extension services. We have even simple things like liners for the ponds. And even I have seen in certain places where now they have advanced, they are using the reticulation systems to try and boost production. But in this area, again, that has been a bit slow. So I'm really looking forward that maybe as you are winding up that side, we start this side. And all the people to make decisions are here. The chairman of LREB is here. The chairman of Blue Economy is here. The European Union is here. You are here. I think we can make this decision. And we'll be meeting, I think, on the side again as LREB. Is it tomorrow? Or tonight? For LREB? Yeah, maybe we can also invite you there so that we can again just advance this further. But that's the summit, at Cold Springs Hotel, yeah? We can invite them so that maybe we can see how to kickstart this partnership, if it can be done. But otherwise, those are just my remarks. If there will be other issues, we'll be able to comment on them. Otherwise, feel welcome. Have I done justice, or is there anything else?
Thank you so much. I think you covered all the ground. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Welcome.
Also, we are on time, but I think it's good to unpack things at every step because we won't have much time for back and forth. So thank you so much. It's my honor to invite on the stage Her Excellency Henriette Geiger for her remarks. And feel free to join the panel or speak from the floor afterwards as you wish.
For me, this is a great honor to speak to you this afternoon. Go Blue has been financed by the European Union. It was conceived years ago because, as the slogan of Homa Bay is endless potential, we see endless potential in the blue economy. Unfortunately, this is maybe the best kept secret in Kenya. I always said Kenya is turned with the back to the sea. So this program was, a big task of this program was to awaken Kenya to the potential of the blue economy. And many times when we talk blue economy, when I engaged, I heard that people talk about fishing, as if blue economy was only about fishing. It's much wider than that. And blue economy also means, as the speaker before me said, waterways and Lake Victoria. We have to look at the potential our waters here in Kenya provide. And it was also said by Florian, the Go Blue program from the start was conceived to make the 6 coastal counties, and I'm including here Taita Taveta, who's not on the water, but it's part of the coastal region. And the idea was to have a whole development plan for the entire region, that the governors and the county governments work together to have an integrated plan, spatial and economic plan for the development of their region. Now the program is ending, and I sincerely hope that what we have planted with this program is taken up by the governors. That was the idea from the very, very start. And all through those years, we have been preaching that the governments have to take this over afterwards, and we have to look at opportunities that then can be opportunities for the private sector to come in and finance investment projects. So this is about fishing as well, but it's about maritime industry, it's about maritime security, it's about TVET in the maritime sector, it's about the cruise industry, it's about tourism, it's about culture. All of these areas are part of the blue economy. And we had a Blue Economy Summit where we brought in investors from across Africa. It was EU financed, hosted by Kenya. This was held on the coast last year. So we matched investors with startups and people who have ideas in the blue economy. And there are plenty of startups now in the coast who benefit from investment in their growth. But of course, it's not enough. And if we are closing now, and I'm glad that UNEP and Habitat were implementing this together with the governments, we have seen far too often the money stops and everything falls back to square one. This would be the worst possible outcome of this Go Blue program, because we invested 25 million euros in taxpayers' money in this, which is an awful lot of money. And we want tangible and sustainable outcomes. We have worked also at the policy level with the central government, with the CS Blue Economy, the previous CS and the current CS, which both of them come from the coastal area and understand what this means. So the EU financed a blue economy strategy for Kenya. But unfortunately, it remains just that, a strategy. And until the moment where Kenya realizes the potential it has in having access to the sea, so many of the products for the countries inland have to go through Kenya. These are prime opportunities. Many countries would kill to have that opportunity. Talking about Ethiopia. So why is Kenya not opening the eyes and fully using that potential? So I really hope that today we get a sensitization on this and we get a push by the Council of Governors, but also the governors who benefited from this project, and the results we are putting in their hands now will grow. The seed will become big, and we very much hope that the impulse that comes from this program will jump over to Lake Victoria. I had discussions here also with the governors, and I said, the EU has been financing regional projects for Lake Victoria for I don't know how long, and we're still not where we should be, because Lake Victoria is also one concept that has to be worked by all the governments, the national governments who are bordering Lake Victoria. Otherwise, you will not have full potential. So you need to create tourism opportunities that integrate the whole zone. And in order to have tourism, you need to have clean water. That means you have to look at all the wastewater treatment, the fertilizers, etc. But also the security aspect is key. And that cannot be only one county doing that. In the case of the coast, we have been strengthening the Navy, the Coast Guard, with search and rescue boats, but we also connected them with the international presence, including EU's presence to counter drug trafficking, human smuggling, and piracy. So we conducted joint exercises on this, because without safety in the seas, the other activities cannot develop. I will stop here. I just wanted to say that the EU is doing a lot at county level, including we have an ongoing program where we register all land titles in the whole of Kenya digitally. We have already finished several counties and will go around. We also financed GIS labs, which will go, it's already in 30 counties, and we will do the rest. All these programs have only one goal: to bring the power to the county level. That's where it matters for the people. So if we can go home today after this panel having some new ideas how the blue space can be empowered here in Kenya, I would be most happy. And what I will do at my level is I will continue to work with the CS Blue Economy, the Council of Governors, and whoever else who's interested, the 6 county governments of the Go Blue program, to see how this space can remain empowered. One thing that we wanted to do is focus now on investment opportunities. And I think this is the next step for the sequence for the Go Blue program. So I will stop here so we can start our panel discussion. Thank you very much, and you can count on my full equipment, my full commitment, and also my team to remain engaged in this space. Thank you very much. Asanteni sana.
Thank you. Another round of applause, please. Yes. Yeah, we can leave it for the next speaker. Thank you so much. If you wish to join the panel, I am the moderator, right? So I'm not supposed to react to many things, but there's so many things I would like to react to, but I have to give the floor to Dr. Uku. But I just wanted to say one thing. The Go Blue project, of course, was implemented by France, Italy, Germany, Portugal, and the United Nations. And just the United Nations part is on the backdrop of this. And if you can see it, we're happy to send it to you. We have an email and we have a team that's happy to send it because there's a lot of activities just under the UN component, let alone all the other components. In past events, we have done joint events and we've brought other components to speak also on how they're integrating. And we had a joint office in Mombasa also, where all the components minus the Portuguese were hosted and where we tried to really work on delivering as one, also beyond the UN. But back to the UN and also back to maybe land sea integration. And also you mentioned data and research, because the Go Blue also has quite some components that are improving data and empirical evidence. So I would like to give the floor to Dr. Uku to tell us a little bit more about that. But just before I do so, I would also like to recognize in the room the Deputy Governor of Turkana, another country that has a lake and that is very interested in listening to this. And we've briefed the FCDC also through LAMU. And just to mention also, the LAMU governor was supposed to join us. We're very sorry he couldn't come because there are quite a few components in LAMU that would have been nice to unpack. But we've just been told today that he wasn't able to join us. He's the former chair of the committee as well. And there are public space components, blue economy, blue carbon, and we are piloting also the county spatial plan review with an integrated land sea lens. Some colleagues are actually in LAMU or going to LAMU to work on that right now to wrap it up. But with no further ado, I pass it to Dr. Uku to give us a few remarks. Asante sana.
It may surprise you to know that the area underwater is considered as Kenya's land space. This is something that is not in the public domain. We see it as water. And we do not recognize it as Kenya's land. Constitutionally, it's land. And even as we plan the ocean space, we are using the Land Act and all the instruments of land spatial planning to run this process. As we run our process, we are looking at elements that will be very key for the lake space, which is investments. We are looking at it primarily for blue economy investments, but we are also conscious of climate and its impact on this space and the fact that we need to safeguard climate refugia. We are looking at it through the lens of ecosystems and using an ecosystem-based approach. And most of all, I think one thing that impressed me from the dialogues earlier on habitat and construction was the use of local knowledge. Often in these processes, we tend not to listen to those that have lived and occupied these spaces for generations. And so these are aspects that are really important for integration in processes like this. With regards to the Go Blue project, our institution participated in several actions and initiatives that are on the ground and are worthy of just describing. One of them was the implementation of constructed wetlands. And these are wetlands designed to capture pollutants from source and clean up that water. One place we implemented this was Shimalatewa Prison in Mutwapa, for those familiar with the coast. And the water that flows from the prison into Mutwapa Creek is now much cleaner than it was before this project. The second project of this nature is in Mikindani, again, a human settlement that has had waste streaming into mangrove forests, and this wetland is beginning to impact these communities. The beauty of these wetlands is the fact that the water from the wastewater is actually used for irrigation purposes. So these serve as models that can be brought to this part of the country to assist in handling of pollutants and safeguarding water spaces. The other thing that we have done is support for mangroves, coastal forests, and implementation of blue carbon projects. This is very big for us at the coast. Started in a small village known as Gazi and has expanded to Vanga in the south coast and into Lamu. The forests of Lamu are currently documented under this project, and soon those credits will be sold as an innovation, a nature-based innovation. Lastly, the land sea planning framework and guidelines are key. As I mentioned, I'm developing and leading the development of a spatial plan for the ocean. And these are guidelines that we will integrate. Looking at land, what is the land? How are we handling our land? How close are we building to the ocean, the lake spaces? Simply because if we don't manage our land and its interaction to the ocean, then we are not managing much. We're very keen. For many years, the coast had an integrated coastal zone management process, and I do believe this will be taken up into this process. And we already begin to see the fruit in the two initiatives that have been very substantive. I think the one thing I'll close on is data. As we run the marine spatial planning process, we need numbers, we need data, we need information, which spaces serve as fish refugia, which spaces support our fisheries, which spaces support other organisms, which spaces are good for tourism. Are there medicinal products that we can get from our water bodies? I think the scope is large, but as a country, our databases are lacking. They're very poor. We have made decisions to use the best available data, but we still are conscious that there's so much that we can do, and we still need the data to be able to make decisions. Thank you, Florence.
So a few reflections on some of the learning that we've done in the GoBlue, and building on some of the remarks we heard here from our speakers. It's clear that Kenya's blue economy provides a really important pillar for the sustainable and prosperous development of Kenya. Essentially, it underpins the bottom-up economic transformation agenda that the government have set to promote infrastructure development, but also environmental resource management, social equity, and governance. It's important to recognize that the marine and coastal ecosystems and the lake ecosystems are the natural assets that drive the blue economy. Put simply, no nature, there's no economy. There's at the same time a lot of drivers. There are a lot of interest in exploiting marine and coastal ecosystems and lakes. So there needs to be a process where this is happening in a coordinated and sustainable way. And the GoBlue project have very much been developing innovative approaches and pilot them and enable the 6 coastal counties in the economic bloc to bring that into their practices, bring it into their county spatial planning, bring it into their local community work, and really engage the communities. In fact, when we invest in nature, it brings 5 times in benefits from healthy environment. Blue economy, economic benefits, but in particularly health benefits, well-being and resilience of local communities. Another key solution is nature-based solutions, where we use the natural ecosystems as a mechanism to address issues like reducing pollution from land-based sources to the coastal areas. And we heard about the blue carbon system that it's piloted. Even a global pilot that was set up some years ago in Gaza and Vanki has been replicated in Lamu through the GoBlue project. It's an area of 5,000 hectares, which is a very huge area, and has been developed in very close collaboration with the county and with the Kimfrey and the coastal communities. And it's happening right now, and we're very pleased to present the results that is happening right now at the closing of the project. In Lamu, we have piloted land sea planning, and it's really to bring the different sectors in the country into a common process. Integrate the value of natural ecosystems, and also see how they can actually have a lot of shared interest across the sectors in a county. It can also be at the national scale. So fisheries, tourism, port development, land planning, maritime planning comes together into a common approach that is now being used to support the new county spatial planning revision. We have also worked with close local communities to support locally managed marine areas. Often when we talk about marine conservation, there's this notion that is impact the local fisheries, it impacts the local user that can't access an area. So we have developed models where communities are very much driving the design of the locally managed areas, and they're very much driving the decisions around how the resources that can be supported from the marine areas is shared with local communities. Lastly, to say that UNEP has been working globally to support policy shifts for economy, and some of the work here in GoBlue to really develop a strong enabling policy environment and bring policies into action. And I think it's one of the smaller aspects of GoBlue, but it really leads to the future. How can the policy enabling environment be enhanced both at the county level and at the national government level? I think I will leave it at that, and I'm happy to continue conversation.
Thank you so much, Ole. This integration is embodied by the institutions involved in this as well. So we have the environment, you have the urban issues, and also it's really a holistic issue. We've addressed various county government officials, environment officers, urban officers. We've created a caucus of planners. They have been receiving training also on integrating land and sea. So this integration is, I think, absolutely key, and I think these two agencies embody the holistic approach, but we also need to foster that within the county, but also the national government. Ambassador has mentioned the national government. When we started Go Blue, there was no ministry for blue economy. Now we have one. The PS is involved, the CS is involved. And we're working both ways. We're working from the counties to the national and from the national to the counties. And I happen to think that UN agencies are well placed to help with coordinating that because they have the convening capacity and they have the trust. And then, you know, they bring together the different partners, including, of course, the private sector and the social sector as well. So with that note, I'm just handing it to David. Last but not least, please give us a few insights into what has been done to bring in the youth and the women, to furnish them with tools to use their innovative skills to foster blue economy outcomes, and what maybe you are still doing going forward also. I know you have a plug here, you have a summit in September, so feel free to also mention it.
I think first is to say I'm privileged to share the platform with High Excellency. We call her the Blue Champion in Mombasa because all the time when there's a Blue Economy event, she's always coming to support. I am director for Sota Hub, which is a Blue Incubation Hub. So Blue Incubation Hub means we work with young people, the techies, the youth, the women, especially with business ideas, brilliant business ideas. As you know, Kenya this is where we excel. I know everyone talks about M-Pesa, but there's so much lying there that has been in terms of technology and innovations. I was reading a data statistics the other day that we are the #1 user of ChatGPT in the world. So, and crypto at some point. And so people with their mobile phone, there's a lot they are doing. And so this is a country that has lots of potential. And we were very privileged to be supported by European Union to implement. We were one of the contractors. We worked with almost 300 entrepreneurs in aquaculture, in mariculture, in maritime tourism, etc. All the 6 almost blue economy value chains. And so if you come to Mombasa, so what we do, and Her Excellency was talking about what next now that the project is ending. So what we have done is to curate a platform. Every year we host a Blue Economy Summit, and in which it's kind of like a celebration of what has happened, what are the possibilities, is a network, a connection. And last year, one of the activities in the summit is that we have a deal room, and we connected, we brought in almost $4.3 million in terms of direct investment into the startups. And so because of we bring in investors, we bring in the startups, and they're able to meet, we are able to do the matching. And I think these are now the private sector taking also the leadership from where government and development partners has been able to provide. And in terms of the innovation, I will say that there's lots of innovation. there's a lot of solution. There's a lot of science also from Humphrey. If you look at, let me pick maybe in aquaculture alone, remote sensing, which you can use for site selection if you want to do a fish farm or a fish pond. And if you ignore that, I have a case of one of my startups who did not have a good selection of the fish farm. And then one evening, there was a heavy downpour. And the next day, she got all her fish had swum to the ocean. And so then you see that you are able to get direct loss if you are not able to take care of this. There is, for example, in terms of IoT, the fish feeding, it can be automated. You can harvest using, for example, a robot. So you do that, then it means that you use less labor, you are more efficient, etc., and etc. We even have a group that is doing traceability using blockchain. And now in the market, you find that sometimes the customers want to see where is their fish coming from. It's possible to use that technology and that the end buyer is able to know this fish is from Kisumu or it's from Homa Bay or it's from the Kenyan coast. So there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of innovating young people that we are working with, and thanks to the work of UN Habitat, the Go Blue project, and the European Union. So, and what's next for me is how do we, and I think Her Excellency also talked about it, how do we pull in investments? How do we match this science and ideas and innovation to the right investment, to the right policies? And I have been trying to champion this a little bit, of creating a national blue economy fund. A national blue economy fund with the participation of the private sector. So this is a fund that can be able to give loan, grants, can invest, but also can also put in money in infrastructure, the cold chain, the last mile, sometimes the energy, the cooling system, the landing sites, etc. So the businesses can be able to borrow from this fund and be able to scale their innovations. So that's one idea. And then on the other side is the policy side, the laws. How do we create the perfect laws that can be able to take the sector to the next level? And I am privileged again because we have Excellency, the chair of the Blue Economy here. Because one of my startups said I should mention this. The cess. A fish farmer is in Homa Bay and want to take the stock to Nairobi. They'll pay like 5 times along the way. You see? So there are like toll stations in each county, in each border. They pay, it's almost like a punishment of some sort. And Your Excellency, the president was giving a lot of goodies to the counties also through the bill. Maybe now the county now to give back the goodie for the SMEs. So you do away with this cess, or maybe have one cess at the point of origin. Because when you do that, then you, at the end of the day, all the cess, what it does is that it increases the cost of production, the cost of the final product, so that the end consumer is getting it at a higher price. And for example, another one is on the branding bit. So again, when you brand your vehicle, it's like you are doing self-promotion advertisement, and every county you have to pay for that. So I think these are the issues, because at the end of the day, what we are grappling here is jobs. How do we create enough jobs for our youth in the country? And the secret, of course, for me in creating enough jobs is businesses, small businesses, middle businesses, big, small, CBOs, self-help groups. As long as the businesses are thriving, the jobs will be there. Of course, if you do the opposite side, then the jobs will not be there. But when the jobs are there, there's money in the economy, in the circulation, there's purchasing power, so you don't need to increase also the tax, because the Gen Z and everybody is able to afford whatever products or services. And so I again appreciate this opportunity to speak about this. There's endless opportunities, just like the slogan of Homa Bay, but the opportunities need to be pushed a little bit. We need to invest in those opportunities so that we take it to the next level. So thank you.
Something that also we were trying to do in Go Blue is we were trying to see what is bankable, how does access to financing look for local governments, and what are things that maybe can be picked by investment banks or big donors, because the pilot projects we've done are rather small scale, and they were intended to be. But you look at the wastewater project in Mikindani. It's a small scale intervention, but if you do 40 of those, it can have a big impact. To what degree are they investable? This Taita Taveta solid waste facility, MRF, that we have, it's generating resources and jobs. So to what degree can we bring into the COG and say, how about we do 47 more of those? Or how about we start in another region that has similar issues? Because the waste issue, the ecosystems issue, and the urban growth are similar in many places in Kenya. So with those few words, just passing it to Deputy Governor of Turkana. You have a lake, you have a very similar setup also. And we've discussed it also. I think you're part of a group with LAMU as well, and the FCDC. And I know the interest on this topic is paramount. So over to you for your few comments. Thank you.
My name is Dr. John Eros, Deputy Governor, Turkana County. And I wanted just to say that just like the blue economy, a lot of the conversations, a lot of the time forgets Lake Turkana as one of those potential lakes that we have in this country. And not just in terms of just being in a desert lake, but the connection between Ethiopia and Turkana and in Kenya in general is critical in terms of supporting and unlocking the economic potential of Lake Turkana. I wanted to say that we also are very keen in the support of Lake Turkana. We are already working with the European Union, with the Netherlands on the sustainably unlocking economic potential of Lake Turkana. However, as the President indicated, we also have thinking around Lake Turkana transport system as very key, connecting Marsabit and Turkana. And so we feel that as part of the conversation, that investments in Lake Turkana plays a critical role, not only in terms of food production, but also we see it as something potential. Thank you so much, but I think I learned a lot in the process.
So I think I'll just have the panel a chance for a quick reaction or closing remarks before we close. I'll hand the floor to our two high-level speakers, just in the interest of time. And I would like to start with Her Excellency Ambassador, since we're being hosted here in Homa Bay and the chair is hosting us in a way. If that's okay with you, I will just hand you the floor for some closing remarks.
I'm passionate about that subject, so I was very interested in hear what the other panelists had to say. And we could sit here until tomorrow to discuss. But the idea of such a panel is to stimulate a thought process and to develop new ideas. And we see that Kenya has a lot of challenges. One of us was speaking about the youth bulge. The latest figures, 2 million young Kenyans entering the labor market every year, 200,000 of which have a chance to get absorbed. What about the rest of the 1.8 million? We need the blue economy to absorb, and we need incubators, and we need youth to create their own jobs. Absolutely crucial. Somebody mentioned mangroves. We have, as Go Blue, also developed mangrove forests, and you have no idea what a miraculous plant the mangrove is. In the Caribbean, we have one island, I will not tell you which one, which is below the sea level. And the EU has been financing a seawall out of concrete. Every meter of that cost a fortune. We changed a few years ago to mangrove. And the mangrove forest was more powerful in protecting the land, the capital, from the rising sea levels than the very expensive concrete wall. And on top of it, it provided many jobs for women who were tending the mangrove forest, beekeeping, etc., planting, etc. So these are the types of ideas we have to look at when we look at cost-effective job creation. And I want to say to Kenya, there's no green without blue. No green without blue. We cannot look at environmental sustainability without integrating the blue space in the equation. So we need a sort of green, blue, turquoise. The other thing, the last remark on a blue economy fund. When I hear fund, I'm getting red lights because all the funds that I have seen are marred with all kinds of problems. So I'm always for very small and localized solutions, because wherever you have a big fund, the honeybees are coming around. And whilst we're all for environmental solution, these types of honeybees we don't want. So I hand over to the next speaker.
Let me take this opportunity to thank those who have moved this program. And lastly, Madam Ambassador and the team here, I've had opportunity to meet some of the beneficiaries of this program. Last time when I attended the conference on our oceans in Nice, France. Yeah, I was in Nice, yes, in France. Yeah, and I saw some of beneficiaries of this program showcasing at that global stage. And luckily, I think Kenya will be hosting, that program next year. Kenya will be the host. They bidded and we were able to get the hosting rights. So we'll be able to push a little bit further more. But what was impressive there, I saw the issue I've just said about the mangroves, the issue about the seaweeds and the opportunity that comes from there, the ladies who are doing that, and even improving what we say, the water transport, through having vessels that can be developed. So quickly, what we can also look, as they have said, my brother up country here, on how best we can also borrow the best practices. And even if now resources may be a bit limited, the program is going on. But on issues of policy, capacity building, curriculum development, I think it was mentioned here that we can partner with our TVETs, just to develop curriculums and training, so that when the opportunities come, at least we have those kind of skills that are available. The other day, as you say, he has just talked about the issue of cess, and each county charging cess and not having harmonized policies. Actually, we were having a problem even on the shared resource of Lake Victoria, that when you take a license from one county, and because fish knows no boundary, and other than the landing sites, the waters are just open. So we're saying now, how do you get licensed in Busia? You reach Siaya, they want a license. You reach Kisumu, Homa Bay, they need a license. And I thought those are some of the areas that we need to harmonize. Yeah, because basically the BMUs, we have been training them, but when they go out there, they act like they're independent entities. And even us, as both national government and county governments, we're also charging for different licenses. I'm happy now that we have also, especially for those of us who border the international boundary of Uganda, we signed an MOU, I think 2 weeks ago, between Kenya and Uganda on how best to harmonize. We used to have Lake Victoria Fisheries Organization in Jinja, but I think over the years, I think it has not been supported, and this has been a source of conflict, cross-border conflict, which should not be, because we should be harmonizing these policies. So I'm seeing as we expand the area of blue economy in terms of transport, in terms of aquaculture, in terms of sustainable exploitation of the lakes, looking at pollution, the youth bulge, like you have just talked about. There was a time Lake Victoria used to have almost 300 or 400,000 people on the lake they are trying to exploit. And no regulation, no nothing. I don't know what the figures are nowadays, but those were the last figures when we were working on it. That every day you have got almost 300,000-400,000 people who go in that lake unregulated, uncontrolled. And that's why you have started seeing overexploitation, pollution and all these things that are also happening upstream. So this integration in terms of blue economy is going to help us because, a lot of even what we harvest is wasted. Like a lot of fish from Turkana makes its way to my county there. I'm sure you're aware of that. But you can imagine losses we get there. Sometimes almost 60-70% just being losses. By the time they are transporting that fish from Turkana to Busia to Congo to Uganda, and even the conflict. So we can have a proper integration by developing policies. I'm happy to hear that if you have got some capacity for GIS mapping, this is one area that we are really having challenges. If we can have that in terms of collaboration, like for us, even with the regional blocks, it will really be useful for us. We have had a lot of even deaths in the lake here. You remember these, you call it what? The fish kills that we have been having. And sometimes back, I think we were trying to map out the lake and see which areas. But I think even as a month ago, we still had some deaths in Busia and the losses that are happening. The other area that we are also seeing that we need a bit of collaboration is what now we are calling fish cage farming, which is becoming very popular in the lake. But again, if we don't develop clear policies on who does what, where, then you'll find that in future that again may be a source of problems. So those are the few takes I'd say. But I want to thank you, Go Blue. We really look forward that even if the program is coming to an end, we will be able to pick up from where we have been and probably in future expand it. Hopefully that we'll be able to get some resources and see how we expand. And I agree with the ambassador that sometimes these small bits are better than the big ones because those ones you can see. And they are very much friendly to women and the youth. Thank you so much.
From my end, I was supposed to summarize. I don't have to do that. Thank you for the great summary. And I also feel that I'm very confident hearing because the ideas have been coming already and they're here. So what we need to do is maintain the momentum going forward. Keep in touch. We make sure that we connect on LinkedIn. We connect through other means. We keep the exchange flowing. This is not the end. This is the beginning. And I just remain to thank you on behalf of UNEP and UN Habitat, and thank you for the COG for hosting us here. Thank you for the EU. Without the whole support, none of this would have been possible. Excellencies in the room, it's my great pleasure to close. And thank you so much. We've been blessed with a great attendance and a big clap for yourself as well. You've been here since morning. You've heard a lot. But still you were, intent throughout the two sessions. My colleague is just making a quick announcement on a photo session that we're still doing with the panel. And Asante Sana.